या सो मेरा एक छोटा सा क्वेश्चन वो ये है कि आई वाज थिंकिंग टू स्टार्ट डूइंग गायत्री मंत्र जपा, स्पेशली मैंने जब से वो वीडियो देखा है दैट इट हैज लॉट ऑफ बेनिफिट्स व्हिच आर साइंटिफिकली प्रूवन, सो
कौन सी वीडियो
दैट
देखी?
हैज गिवन मी मोर। सॉरी,
कौन सी वीडियो देखी?
कौन सी वीडियो? एक्चुअली ग्रुप में शेयर किया था, आई थिंक शोभा दी ने,
अच्छा अच्छा।
and some research, it is a proper research by
Nice.
medical professionals, I guess, which has tracked people for 6 months or 9 months and so.
अच्छा
And there were 3 or 2 control groups, and one of the group was, 3 groups were there. So one of the group did chanting 108 times in Sanskrit. Another group did the same thing but in English, so they just read the meaning of the mantra in English. And there was another group which didn't do any of it. So the one which did the chanting in Sanskrit, they had some positive effects. Now I don't remember the names of those things, they were some typical terms, but I could understand that it has many benefits. So my doubt is, चैंट करने के लिए अब एक और चीज डाउट ये है कि संस्कृत, वन थिंग इज कि आप नॉर्मली संस्कृत पढ़ रहे हो, ओम भूर्भुवः स्वः बोल दी, एंड वन थिंग इज कि उसका कुछ प्रॉपर प्रोनाउंसिएशन होगा, प्रॉपर कुछ टोन होगा जो वैदिक वे में बोलते हैं कि चैंट किया जाता है जिस तरीके से मंत्र. So are they also different? And then how do I exactly learn कि अच्छा वैदिक proper methodology क्या है chant करने की?
हाँ
और
तो
मतलब does it require some training, or I need to learn it from a teacher who is
राइट, तो
experienced, or what? I don't know.
मैंने सुना है कि कुछ लोग बोलते हैं कि आपके जो इष्ट देव है उनका प्रकोप आ जाएगा यदि आपने ठीक से उच्चारण नहीं किया. जो भी शब्द, जैसे भी शब्दों का उच्चारण है, यदि आपने सही तरीके से नहीं किया तो प्रकोप आ जाएगा. इस पे डिफरेंट डिफरेंट लोगों की ओपिनियन होती है. मेरा तो ये मानना है कि अगर आपको संस्कृत थोड़ी बहुत आती है तो, जैसे मेरी उच्चारण है उतनी अच्छी नहीं है भगवत गीता की, लेकिन क्योंकि थोड़ा बहुत आता था हिंदी और संस्कृत तो चल जाता है. पर आपको बिल्कुल, जैसे जो इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग वाले लोग हैं, अमेरिकन होंगे, उनको थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम होती है ना, तो बिल्कुल नहीं बनता है. तो उनके लिए तो बेटर है कि वो इंग्लिश में लिख लें और फिर उसको जैसे भी उच्चारण हो सके कर लें. हम लोगों के लिए इजीएस्ट है कि अगर आपको नहीं बनता है ना, जैसे मैं कोई नया लर्न करता हूँ अभी, जैसे गजेंद्र मोक्ष स्तोत्रम में याद करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, तो उसमें बहुत तकलीफ होती है, बहुत हार्ड वर्ड्स हैं, लंबे लंबे. जैसे कि भगवत गीता है, थोड़ा इजी है. श्रीमद् भागवतम पढ़ेंगे तो बहुत हार्ड हार्ड वर्ड्स, लंबे लंबे वर्ड घुमा के देते, तो उतना नहीं बनता है, हम लोग उतना नहीं तेज है. तो इसीलिए जितनी पुरानी होगी ना, जैसे ऋग्वेद वगैरह में और कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, और जितना नया होगा क्रिएशन शास्त्र का, वो उतना ईजी होता है. तो इसीलिए या तो यूट्यूब पे सुन लें, वो जो 21 ब्राह्मण उच्चारण करके एक आता है यूट्यूब पे सीरीज है, जहाँ पे जो बहुत ही प्रकांड विद्वान है, ब्राह्मण वगैरह, वो बहुत अच्छा उच्चारण करते हैं, आपने कई बार सुना होगा. तो उनका सुन के आपको थोड़ा सा फिर लिंक हो जाता है. जैसे आदित्य हृदय भी मैं पहले सुनता था यूट्यूब पे, तो फिर मेरे को थोड़ा थोड़ा बनने लगा, तो खुद से करने लगा. एक तरीका तो वो है. दूसरा है कि आप उसका या तो तोड़ तोड़ के हिंदी में छोटे छोटे वर्ड्स करके कर लें, या फिर इंग्लिश का जो उसका लिखते हैं, जिस देवनागरी को जो इंग्लिश में उन्होंने ट्रांसलेट करके लिखा हुआ है, उसके थ्रू कर लें. मेरा ये मानना नहीं है कि अगर गलत उच्चारण करेंगे तो आपके इष्ट देवता आपसे मतलब नाराज हो जाएंगे, प्रकोप में आ जाएंगे. क्योंकि हर एक मंत्र का एक वाइब्रेशन फ्रीक्वेंसी होती है, जो कि बीज मंत्र से स्टार्ट होती है, और फिर जैसा भी उसका नेजल ट्वैंग है, 6 पार्ट्स ऑफ अ मंत्र होता है, अलग अलग उसका कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स. तो बेसिकली उसके उच्चारण से फायदा होता है, क्योंकि इथीरियल क्लेंजिंग होती है. मतलब कि जो आपके वातावरण में जो सूक्ष्म शरीर के प्राणी हैं हर समय मौजूद रहते हैं, वो आपके नेचर वाले से आ जाएंगे. अगर आप जपा कर रहे हैं तो जो जपा वाले लोग हैं वैसे लोग आ जाएंगे. हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ रहे हैं तो वैसी आपके साथ सूक्ष्म शरीर की शक्तियां आपके साथ आ जाएंगी ना. तो इसीलिए उच्चारण कर, भक्ति योग में क्या करते हैं, जो चैंटिंग करते हैं वही है. तो या तो आप सुन लें या आप बोल दें. या तो वो ज्ञानेंद्रिय हो गई जिसमें सुनने का काम किया, या कर्म इंद्रिय हो गई जिसमें आपने खुद ही रेसिटेशन कर लिया. तो ईदर वेज कर सकते हैं, म्यूजिक के साथ भी कर सकते हैं. लेकिन मेरे हिसाब से नहीं करने के कंपैरिजन में करना इज बेटर, क्योंकि आपका इंटेंशन मैटर्स मोस्ट. आप किस इंटेंशन से कर रहे हैं ना, वो मैटर ज्यादा करता है, भले कि ओ मुझे तो आता ही नहीं है, मैं ट्राई नहीं करूंगा। जैसे वो कहते हैं भगवान के बारे में, जगत गुरु कृपालु महाराज बोलते थे कि भगवान बस ये कह रहे हैं कि तुम विमुख बैठे हो, सम्मुख बैठ जाओ। मतलब एक कमरे में आप भी बैठे हैं, भगवान भी बैठे, दोनों पीठ पीठ करके ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन में बैठे हुए, तो हो ही नहीं पा रहा है कम्युनिकेशन। तो भगवान आपको बस ये बोल रहे हैं, तुम मेरे सम्मुख बैठ जाओ, मेरी तरफ बैठ जाओ, मेरी तरफ शरण में आ जाओ, मामे शरणम युद्ध च, मेरी शरण में आ जाओ, बाकी मैं सब कर लूंगा। तो आपकी सारी गलतियां माफ कर देंगे, क्योंकि आपने इंटेंशन, संकल्प लिया है ना। तो संकल्प के बाद श्रद्धा है। जो 7 स्टेट्स ऑफ मनोमय शरीर में मैंने बताया कैसे क्रेविंग, एक्सपेक्टेशन, डिजायर, लास्ट में इंटेंशन और श्रद्धा, फेथ है ना। तो इसीलिए आपने संकल्प जब ले आया ना, तो फिर खुद ही श्रद्धा आ जाती है, उसके बाद फिर भगवत कृपा हो जाती है। लास्ट स्टेज भगवत कृपा है। तो इसीलिए बिल्कुल मंत्रों का उच्चारण करें, जितना अच्छा हो सके करें, यूट्यूब पे सुन के करें। मुझे लगता नहीं है कि आपको जाकर किसी सीखने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि अगेन कई लोग हैं जो मंत्र उच्चारण नहीं करते हैं। जैसे नीम करोली बाबा तो केवल हनुमान चालीसा ही पढ़ते थे, राम 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 राम। आपने सुना होगा यूट्यूब पे 30 मिनट तक राम 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 राम, ऐसे 30 मिनट तक लगातार जप कर रहे हैं। और कबीर दास ने रिकॉर्ड कर लिया था उस जमाने में, तो आज भी यूट्यूब पे है वो। तो इससे पता चलता है कि मंत्र अगर ज्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है तो नहीं हो पा रहा, तो जपा कर लें। जैसे कोई बीज मंत्र आपको गुरु ने दिया है या किसने दिया है, उसी का बार बार उच्चारण कर लें। जरूरी नहीं कि लंबा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मंत्र हो, लेकिन जो भी आपको पसंद हो, जैसी भी शक्तियां चाहिए उस हिसाब से इष्ट देवता होते हैं और उससे विघ्न कटते हैं। तो इसीलिए बिल्कुल करना चाहिए। अगर आपको खासकर 1-2 मंत्र हैं जो आप बार बार रिपीट करते हैं, तो ज्यादा बेनिफिशियल है कंपेयर टू 100 डिफरेंट मंत्र को थौ थौ पढ़ के छोड़ देते हैं।
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tapas. Nobody has said anything to me. Anybody has questions? The next person can go. Who's this?
शोभा है।
शोभा के 2 छोटे बच्चे, 6 years. Did you get the question, Tapas ji?
नहीं यार, मैं देख नहीं रहा। व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन?
नहीं दिख रहा, गाना गा रहे थे बच्ची। I don't. Do I assume that nobody has questions? I see Srini, I see Vijay and Ramakant ji.
One question from, this is Vijay.
हेलो विजय जी।
Tapas ji. ये question है, the thing you were talking about earlier, right? Like when you do mantra japa, you were saying that the सूक्ष्म शरीर के लोग आ जाते हैं. Something I didn't quite get that. Can you elaborate on that one? What is it actually?
ये एक वीडियो शायद है उसमें कि आप YouTube पे देखेंगे चैनल पे, मुझे याद नहीं है नाम, उमा आपको शायद लिंक भेज सकती है, जिसमें आई थिंक कैप्शन था कि सूक्ष्म शरीर के आत्माएं बोलने, स्पिरिट्स बोलने, वो आपके इर्द गिर्द हमेशा मौजूद रहते हैं। ये कैसा कोइंसिडेंट की बात है कि अभी मैं यूट्यूब ये ट्विटर पे ट्वीट डाल रहा था, तो उस पे एक्चुअली ट्रेंडिंग में दिखा रहा था कि ये बोल रहे थे कि एआई के द्वारा आप अभी you can see the paranormal spirits that are around you. I was so surprised. It's a coincidental thing that it just was being said. Maybe you can Google that thing as well. It's trending right now on Twitter. So surprising, like half an hour ago. मेरे ट्वीट फीड में ट्रेंड करा था. Anyways, तो सूक्ष्म शरीर का क्या फंड है? जैसा कि आपको पता है 3 तरह के शरीर है। स्थूल शरीर है, ये पंच भौतिक महाभूत, भूमि, रापो, नलो, वायु, खम, फायर, अर्थ, एयर, वाटर, ईथर। उसके बाद क्या है? भूमि, रापो, नलो, वायु, खम, मनो, बुद्धि, रेच, अहंकार, इत्य में भिन्न प्रकृति रजता। तो भूमि, रापो, नलो, वायु, खम 5 से बना महाभूत, महाभूत से निर्माण हुआ स्थूल शरीर का, ग्रोस बॉडी। उसके अंदर की जो बॉडी है ना आपकी, वो कहलाती है अहंकार, इत्य में भिन्न प्रकृति रजता। मनो, बुद्धि, अहंकार। तो मन, बुद्धि और अहंकार। मनस को बोलने, मन को बोलते मनस, बुद्धि तो इंटेलेक्ट हो गई, और अहंकार ईगो, महातत्व से जो आया। तो ये 3 चीजें जो हैं, है तो मनस, बुद्धि, अहंकार, चित्त बोलते हैं, लेकिन ये जो चीजें हैं वो सटल बॉडी हैं। तो इसमें ही निवास करती हैं सारे आपके डिजायर्स होंगे तो कर्म करेंगे, कर्म से फिर कर्म बंधन बनेगा, कर्म बंधन कारण शरीर में घुस जाएगा। तो इसीलिए सूक्ष्म शरीर वो शरीर है जिसमें आप रहते हैं ड्रीम में और डेथ के बाद। ड्रीम में भी रहते हैं आप, और डेथ के बाद तो ऑब्वियसली उसमें रहते हैं। बस अंतर ये है कि ड्रीम में आपको थोड़ा सा अहंकार तब भी रहता है, लेश मात्र रहता है, और मरने के बाद अहंकार नहीं रहता है इंसान में, क्योंकि अहंकार इज द प्राइम थिंग दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड। जैसे उस एक और डिफरेंट वीडियो जिसमें बताया कैसे महाप्राण से महातत्वों का जो होता है निर्माण, तो उसमें सबसे पहले ईगो आता है, अहंकार, आप और मैं में अंतर करने के लिए। तो ईगो जो है वो डेथ के बाद नहीं रहता है, इसीलिए लोग बहुत हम्बल होते हैं आफ्टर डेथ, और डेथ के तो समय बहुत लोग हम्बल हो जाते हैं एक्चुअली। एनीवेज, तो सूक्ष्म शरीर आपके इर्द गिर्द हमेशा मौजूद हैं। कैसी शरीर मौजूद है? तो जैसे आपका नेचर है वैसे ही, यमे में आप स्मरण भाव त्यजन्ते कलेवरम, जैसे आपके आचरण है वैसा ही आपके मरते समय विचार आएंगे, वैसे ही आपके मरने के बाद इर्द गिर्द आपके फ्रेंड्स वैसे ही रहेंगे। तो जो इंसान हमेशा क्लेश करता है, कला करता है, उसके अराउंड वैसे ही कला वाली आत्मा अट्रैक्ट हो जाती। जो भगवान हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ता रहेगा तो उसके वैसे ही पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट वाली आती है। उसका कारण ये है क्योंकि ये ऐसी आत्माएं हैं जिन्होंने मोक्ष की प्राप्ति तो नहीं कर पाए, कर्म बंधन बच गया था। अब नेक्स्ट जन्म जब तक मिलेगा नहीं, नंबर आएगा नहीं, उनको फिर प्रेत बोल लीजिए, भूत बोल लीजिए, आत्मा रूप स्वरूप बोल लीजिए, उस रूप में उसको रहना है जब तक उसका नंबर नहीं लग रहा है अगले अगले जन्म पाने का। तो उस दौरान जो अंतराल में वो रहते हैं, तो उस समय वो ऐसे ही इथीरियम आकाश तत्व में सस्पेंडेड है। तो आपका जैसा नेचर है वैसा आपके साथ रहेंगे, जो हम लोग क्रिश्चियनिटी में बोलते हैं डेविल्स और एंजल्स। तो आप लेफ्ट साइड जो भी मुझे याद नहीं है, एक साइड डेविल एक साइड एंजल्स है, तो वही शक्तियां, इविल शक्तियां और गुड नेचर शक्तियां आपके इर्द गिर्द रहती हैं। अब हनुमान चालीसा पढ़िएगा तो वैसी शक्ति आ जाएंगी, क्योंकि वैसी आत्माएं हैं जिनको हनुमान चालीसा बहुत पसंद था, तो वो अब आपके साथ आ जा रही हैं, क्योंकि अब उनके पास शरीर तो रहा नहीं, गाना तो गा नहीं सकते हैं, कर्मेंद्रियां तो रही नहीं, हाँ लेकिन थोड़ी ज्ञान इंद्रियां अभी भी रह जाती हैं हल्का सा। तो ज्ञान इंद्रिय के चक्कर में वो म्यूजिक को एंजॉय करते हैं, और आप जो भी कर रहे हैं, भोग चढ़ा रहे हैं, तो वो भी उसके इर्द गिर्द आ जाते हैं। इसीलिए आप देखिएगा, हनुमान चालीसा जब पढ़ते हैं लोग, भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे, तो आपको ऐसे भी बहुत सारे जो परेशान करने वाली आत्माएं हैं वो आपके इर्द गिर्द नहीं रहेंगी। बहुत आपका लाइफ बिल्कुल स्मूथ चलता है, क्योंकि वैसी आत्माएं नहीं है, पॉजिटिव तत्व वाली आत्माएं, वो आपको परेशान क्यों करेंगे, वो आपको हेल्प करती है उल्टा। कहीं आप तकलीफ में होंगे तो आपको बचा लेंगे, बैड लक है, एक्सीडेंट होने वाला है तो बचा लेती है। तो इसीलिए सूक्ष्म शरीर के तो सबके अराउंड है। अब कैसी आत्माओं को आपने वेलकम करना है, ये आपके आपके ऊपर है। हमेशा कला करें, क्लेश करें, लड़ाई करें, इविल इंटेंशंस रखेंगे तो इविल इंटेंशंस वाली आत्माएं फ्रेंड बन जाएंगी। और बिल्कुल आप अच्छे फिलैंथ्रोपी, यज्ञ दान तप वाली इंटेंशन से करें, चैंटिंग करें, तो वैसी आत्माएं आपके साथ आ जाएंगी। तो इसीलिए वो लाइक माइंडेड स्पिरिट्स विल, बर्ड्स ऑफ अ फेदर फ्लॉक टुगेदर जो बोलते हैं, लाइक माइंडेड वाली एक साथ आ जाती है।
तो इससे स्पिरिचुअल प्रोग्रेस होता है या इट्स ओनली फॉर द वर्ल्डली प्लेजर, वो सब के लिए? बिकॉज यू नो, एज वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, we attract good energy or good soul, right? The Sukshma Sharira. So basically, that will give us better life, or the way we think, right? The progression on the worldly things. But how about the spiritual progression with that?
It will help with the spiritual progression, just because everything is a supporting path on your, जैसे बोलते हैं, Guru is himself a conduit to the God. Guru is not God. Guru is the path to show you the God. वैसे ही ये spiritual, अगर आप अच्छे फ्रेंड्स रखेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली सक्सेस होगा इस लाइफ में भी और आफ्टर लाइफ में भी। तो इसीलिए दे आर हेल्पफुल टू यू, क्योंकि आपके विघ्न कम कर दे रहे हैं ना। अब आप कहीं, मान लीजिए आपको हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ना है, आपके इंटेंशन है, और आपको कोई बीमारी हो जाती है जी, खांसी सर्दी हो जाती है, आप पढ़ ही नहीं पाते हैं, या फिर आपको कहीं जाना होता है, आपका एक्सीडेंट हो जाता है, 2 हफ्ते तक अब हाथ पैर टूटा हुआ है, हॉस्पिटल में बैठे हुए, तो ये टाइम आपका खराब हो रहा है ना। सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज क्या है आपके पास लाइफ में? वो बोलते हैं कि 3 चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट होती हैं, हेल्थ, वेल्थ और टाइम। और किसी भी इंसान के पास जिंदगी में 2 ही चीजें एक टाइम में रहती है। बच्चे हो तो हेल्थ अच्छा है, टाइम अच्छा, पैसे नहीं है। मिडिल एज में हेल्थ ठीक है, थोड़ा पैसा भी है, लेकिन टाइम नहीं है, दिन भर काम ही काम किए जा रहे हैं। और बुढ़ापे में तो फिर भाई टाइम ऐसे भी कम हो जाता है, और हेल्थ नहीं रहती है। तो इसीलिए आपको टाइम सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है, खासकर मिडिल एज में जब आ गए। तो आपको अपना, क्योंकि सारा शरीर काम कर रहा है, आपके पास पैसे भी थोड़े हैं, आपके पास हेल्थ भी अच्छा है, सब कुछ कर सकते हैं, तो इंटेंशन बस चाहिए आपको। तो भक्ति योग में इंटेंशन लगाएं, ध्यान योग में, कर्म योग में, वो आपके ऊपर है, उस हिसाब से आपको मिल जाता है। और ये सारी चीजें सहायक हैं, क्योंकि आपको परम ब्रह्म की तरफ ले जा रही हैं, क्योंकि वो भी तो ऐसी आत्माएं हैं जो आपसे थोड़ी आगे बढ़ चुकी है ना, तभी तो वो आपकी तरफ आ रही है। अब शरीर नहीं है तो उनको वही प्रैक्टिस करना है, उसी रास्ते में आगे बढ़ना है। आधा होमवर्क कर लिया उन लोगों ने, तो इसीलिए उनका हेल्प मिलता है हम लोगों को। एंजल्स बोलते हैं इनको बाइबल में। तो वही है, जैसे हमारे यहाँ 33 करोड़ देवी देवता बोलते हैं, तो 33 करोड़ देवी देवता क्या है, मोक्ष प्राप्त किए हुए हैं क्या? नहीं, मोक्ष की स्थिति नहीं है, मोक्ष की स्थिति नहीं है। वो भी मोक्ष के मार्ग में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, लोक में रहते हैं ना यार, देवलोक में रह रहे हैं, तो वो भी तो सप्त लोगों में से एक पार्ट है, जनलोक, तपलोक, देवलोक, उसमें तो ब्रह्मलोक जाएंगे तब ना खत्म होगा। इसीलिए अलग अलग लेवल्स ऑफ मैनिफेस्टेशन है, जहां पे अलग अलग लेवल्स की बॉडीज हैं। अब जो सबसे ज्यादा स्थूल या ग्रोस मैनिफेस्टेशन है वो प्लैनेट अर्थ है। अर्थ से हैवी कोई चीज नहीं है। आप प्लानिटरी सिस्टम में पढ़ेंगे तो आउटर 4 प्लैनेट्स जो है वो गैसियस प्लैनेट्स हैं, जैसे कि जुपिटर, सैटर्न, ये सब गैसियस प्लैनेट्स हैं। बड़े प्लैनेट्स तो बहुत हैं, लेकिन गैसेस से भरे हुए हैं, हीलियम और जो भी है। और ये अर्थ है और मार्स है, ये हैवी डेंसिटी के प्लैनेट्स हैं, ये मेटालिक्स ज्यादा है ना। तो इसीलिए अलग अलग लोकों में अलग अलग तरह के प्राणी रहते हैं। हम लोग कभी कभी जाते हैं, उसको एस्ट्रल ट्रैवल भी बोलते हैं, ड्रीम्स में भी ट्रैवल करते हैं। और ऑफ कोर्स डेथ के बाद तो फिर आप अगर मोक्ष नहीं प्राप्त करे हैं तो फिर वापस आना है। आ ब्रह्म भुवन लोका पुनरावर्ती अर्जुन मां उपेते तो कौनते पुनर्जन्म विद्यते। ब्रह्म लोक तक अर्जुन सारे लोकों में मरना जीना चलता रहेगा, ब्रह्मा का भी है मरना और जीना। तो उसके बाद जो क्रॉस कर जाएगा मेरे लोक में, उसको नहीं आना पड़ेगा बैकुंठ में। तो ये फंड है, और ये सहायक है अगर आपने अच्छे सूक्ष्म शरीर को अपने इर्द गिर्द रखा तो।
Thank you.
Uma ji, can I go?
Yes, please.
Hello.
Sorry, I was on mute. Go ahead. Who's this?
This is B.
Oh, B. Go ahead.
Yes. Gaurav, I have a question. I was doing Kumbhak for almost like a year now, or I would say even less than a year. I was doing really, really good. I see a lot of progress in myself. I could have sit down and do the meditation for almost an hour, and my body feels like very light. I don't know, something happened in between that I fall from the wagon. My brain was telling my body that get up, get up, get up. It's time to get up, do the meditation. But my body was so heavy, I couldn't even get up. But I don't know how that happened. So then I did every effort to pick up my body and sit down and do meditation. So right now it's like haphazard. Some days my body is so heavy I cannot sit down, and some days I can sit down very nicely for hour and a half, or sometime my body is very light. Why this is happening? I've been listening to Hanuman Chalisa constantly, as much as I can. So why this is happening to me?
Think about it. When I've talked about the ways to reach God, the 3 yoga and Panch Pratyahar, right? 3 yoga ho gaya, Dhyan yoga, Bhakti yoga, Karm yoga, and Panch Pratyahar. Let's revise it again. Panch Pratyahar, each Mahabhut, there is one way of austerity or tap. So tap, cleansing, austerity is for the purification of mind. Pure mind is required for receiving the cosmic consciousness, building intuition. तो 5 महाभूत में सबसे पहले है या सबसे हैवी है, सबसे हैवी इज अर्थ, विच इज क्लियर्ड बाय फूड, अन्नात् भवन्ति भूतानि. सो क्लियर्ड बाय फूड, intermittent fasting. Okay. Second is water. Water has to be alkaline, because astringent alkaline is the one that detoxifies the body, so cucumber or mint or. Third is air. Fire. Fire you can say exercise, mostly any aerobic, running, walking, whatever you want. Then the next is air. Air is kumbhak, breath retention. And last is ether. Ether can be dhyan or ether can be music, depending upon how you want to call it. So basically, the fourth subtle most element hai, or I should say, yes, fourth subtle most element jo hai, wo hai air. So you have to understand that air itself, because it is so fine element, it's a very subtle quality. Just like feelings, it is very subtle. Sparshka tendency. Still, it will come and go. All these tendencies, the problem with yoga is that they are all sattvic practices. And sattvic practices, by definition, are things which are light and subtle. Things which are addictions, smoking, drinking, gambling, a gambler will never forget to gamble or drink alcohol when he gets a chance, because those are tamasic tendencies. Tamasic tendencies are heavily ingrained in the earth element and little bit sticky, the water element. But all the good things that we do, which can be dhyana or kumbhak, even listening to music, bhakti yoga, these get on the lighter spectrum of the mahabhuts, because they are dealing, or visualization of God, jo bolte hai sparshankitva bahirvaya chakshu chavantare bhruvo, try to visualize the God at the glabella of the forehead. All these things are arising from the subtle elements, the plasma or fire, the air or the ether. Thinking about visualization of God, kumbhak or bhakti yoga. That's why they are very difficult. They can come and go. Sometimes you will be doing very well. You'll feel on top of the world. I am the best person. I am such a siddha. And then suddenly you get a little bit of arrogance or confidence, overconfidence. And then God will show you, nahi, nahi, itne easy thodi na. Yoga is the path of constant perseverance. If you fall off the wagon, you have to do it again. And sometimes it also depends on your company or individuals you keep in contact with. I haven't done a Zoom video in like 4 or 5 months. I don't think I have done a lot of kumbhak either. So believe it or not, if you are inspired by someone and that individual is faltering, you will also falter, because your strings are tied together with that individual. So
I can blame to you then.
you can blame to me probably, because I myself haven't done a lot of kriyas, but I do know that at certain stage I will not be incurring so much harm, because I have done it to a certain stage. Like Ramakrishna says, if you add water to the milk gets diluted. If you add water to the butter will float on top, because at some point a person has done so much that even if he falters for a few months, he still knows the benefits, and he will reap the benefits, because he has crossed the critical threshold, as we call in physics. If you hit the critical velocity or escape velocity, you go, and then you cannot come. So anyways, that's a very spiritual explanation. The more rational explanation is that these are sattvic practices. These are practices based on the lighter mahabhuts. So you don't have to get disheartened. You have to start again. So where do you start? You start from fasting, because whenever you get upset, you have to start with the heaviest mahabhut. It's very hard to hold your breath. It's very hard to visualize the God. It's not that hard to miss a meal. You just don't have food in your house. What wrong can happen? You have to miss the meal. You don't prepare a meal. That time you can just do Om. The moment you start doing intermittent fasting, you will slowly see that the subtle powers are coming back to you. Your kumbhak will get better, your dhyana will get better, your bhakti yoga chanting will get better. All the panch mahabhut patyaharas will slowly return to you. So you never judge yourself or get disheartened ki, oh, I used to do so much, now I don't do it. This was a question that Arjuna asked in Bhagavad Gita. Kachinobha vibhrasht aschinovi nashati apratishto mahabaho vimuddho pramanapati. Will I get scattered like a cloud if I follow the path of yoga and do not achieve greatness? And God says, no. Parth nave namutra vinashasya vidyate nahi kalyanakrit kaschit durgatim tat gacchati prapya punyakritam lokanushitva shashvati samasuchi nam shrimatam gehe yog bhrashto abhijayate. You will always start your work from the place you stopped. So in a way, in computer language, your work is auto-saved. In your next life, you will have intrinsic samskaras to do more yoga. You will catch yoga faster. You will remember Bhagavad Gita quicker. Anything you do is auto-saved in your next life. So nothing goes waste. This is the words of Krishna. पार्थ नावे नामूत्र विनाशस्त्र से विद्यते. तू विनाश को प्राप्त नहीं होगा अगर मेरे बारे में थोड़ा भी स्मरण करेगा. So all the time you have to remember God, think about God, talk about God, listen to chanting music, do kumbhak, cleansing of the mind through the nadi shodhans, and eventually you'll reap benefits. So you should never get disheartened. Try to have good company of people with similar ideas. That's another thing, that because guna ka prabhav hai. If you are in contact with people who have contradictory or diametrically opposite intentions to you, they like going to movies, watching cricket for hours, playing video games, gossiping, then your sadhanas will go to waste, because they are tamasic and you are sattvic. Tamas is always heavy on sattva. So sonar ki ek lohar ki. You will have to do 100 practices and they will come and hammer you down with one. So that is why solitude works. If you cannot find good company, solitude is the best company, because it will slowly wash away all the things that are kind of bringing you down. You want to call it addictions or behaviors, whatever.
No, I cut down all my groups. I don't have any company. It's just me and my husband. But I understand what you say. But my other question is, I work with the preschool children, and they sleep in the school, and they sleep for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and they have to listen to the music. So I start doing the Hanuman Chalisa.
Right.
Is that okay? Even they don't understand that, but they like the music. Is that okay to let the children listen to it, even they don't understand it?
You are priming them for their future life. It is such a good thing you're doing. If someone, and you can play anything, Vakratun Mahakai, Suryakoti Samprabh, there's a big loop on YouTube. Beautiful music melody. Any music, Hanuman Chalisa is great. Anything they like, soft music, even if they don't understand. When I used to play Hanuman Chalisa loop in ER, when I used to work constantly in the background, the nurses will say, you are playing jingle bells or what? Sounds like jingle, because everybody has their own way of connecting with the music. But surprisingly, they like the music. They're like, no, it's great music. We like the soft music. It's not like metallic rap, piercing your eardrums. So most people are not offended by it, which is a great place to start. And then they slowly develop affinity for it, because music slowly gets ingrained and primed in your neuronal network. So yes, it's a great way. Actually, it's a great way for kids today, because lots of kids have attention deficit, impulse control disorder, a lot of mental health conditions. The Vata is increasing. As Kali Yuga is increasing, Vata is increasing. So impulse control, gun shooting, all these things in America increase, because it's not a time of stability. Mental stability is very difficult in this age. So yeah, it's a great work. You are doing goodness to the other Atmans around you. So definitely play it, as long as they are not objecting to it. I guess that's the main thing, which they won't. I guess preschoolers, there's not much to get upset about, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start maybe
Thank you.
another, I think you were not part of the group before. I've done like a 21-day yoga and things, so maybe we can start a yoga meditation thing for 21 days. So, I'll connect with you guys on the channel.
Yeah, please do so.
Yeah, okay. And Srini, I think you're next in queue.
Thank you, Maji. Pranam Tapasji. Fortunate to be here. So glad to be here. There is this, Tapasji, would like you to reflect upon this conundrum, like what Arjuna had, where, if I were to understand correctly, Arjuna, as part of the Vishada Yoga, he would make all kinds of convincing arguments that, why do I have to fight? Wouldn't I just have to, isn't it better to just go to the mountains and then just meditate? And why do I have to go take this kind of fight? And he has all the things, it almost appears like a kind of a sattvic kind of stuff. So putting that kind of a mindset to our own lives, where we are all trying to strive for peace. So at that time, should we limit ourselves to just staying at one place and keep ourselves in harmony, or, use all the tools? But should we also take to the battles around us, the Kurukshetras, the inequalities around us? So anything that you would reflect upon on this?
So Sriniji, your question is, why did Arjuna ask, or what the right response is to the question that I should not abdicate my duty of war and go become a sannyasi?
So basically, that was Arjuna's question. And if I were to interpret, then Krishna would say, it's like, your responsibility is to restore dharma, or something like that, right? You have to fight.
Right. But the question is what? Why did Arjuna think that way, or what the right response is to that thought train of thought.
So why did Arjuna think that way, and then the Krishna did it? Should we draw parallels to that in our life? Like, in other words, when we are all striving to establish peace, is the peace by just staying at home and do the chanting and ourselves, or should we also take the fight or take the worldly life or restore inequality? I don't know if I'm framing it right, but is there a parallel between what Arjuna went through and what we are going through in our lives?
Yeah, definitely, because Bhagavad Gita is happening at the end of Dwapar, which is very close to Kali Yuga. So his problems are very similar to ours. Karpanya dosha swabhav prichami dharma samucheta. So why are you acting so cowardly? He himself is saying, I am acting cowardly because I have lost all the ability to fight war. Well, Arjuna's case, I guess the conundrum is real because he has to take up weapons, not only against his step brothers, but also against his guru. The person killing the guru is considered if you read Left Hand of Aghora by Robert Sobodha, there are few crimes which are not, you cannot mitigate them by karma. Karma bandhan cannot be dissolved for certain crimes. There are 3 crimes actually, he says, which is Vimalanda's word, not my experience. One is killing your guru. Second is rape of a woman. And 3 is gambling debt that you get from gambling. So these 3 things have to be paid off in whatever way. And these things, karma bandhan cannot be dissolved. So anyways, Arjuna has a real conundrum because he has to kill Dronacharya, he has to fight Dronacharya, Bhishma, Pitama, everybody. So these are either his relatives, he has played with them, or it's people who have taught him all the archery and stuff like that, guru. So it's very difficult for him to kill the guru. And that is why the whole thing starts, Nanan Chindanti Shastrani Nanam Dehati Pavaka. You are not killing Drona because Drona is the identity that has been taken by the constellation of the Panch Mahabhut. Atman never dies. So what we have to dispense at that point is the equality of dharma, because dharma has been imbalanced in that yuga. So for that reason, he has to fight. Now, what Arjuna is proposing is sannyasa. And what Krishna is asking him to do is tyaga. This is the change of, or you should say, evolution of the yugas as we move from Satyug to Treta, Treta to Dwapar, Dwapar to Kali. The roles change. When you are in Treta, the number of rishis will be higher. People who can sannyas or abdicate duties or not have duties because they have 0 attachments, no kids. There is no duty to be done. So for that it works. But as the imbalance of dharma with the adharma increases, there is more adharma, then you have to neutralize it by the action, because action only can cut action. So in Dwapar, there is more of adharma. I mean, there's a very common observation in Mahabharata, the chala, or the things that are done through conspiracies and underhanded means. Even in Mahabharata, Krishna uses a lot of underhanded means. In Jarasandha Vadh and killing Duryodhan, or even Karna when the Kavach Kundal goes away. Lot of underhanded means are there. But all of these are with terms and conditions under the name of dharma. Someone has to neutralize all the imbalance that has been created by Duryodhan, or whatever happened with Draupadi. So that has to be neutralized by taking action. And if instead of tyaga, Arjuna wants to do sannyasa, then he is going to not only have bad repute as a warrior, Kshatriya, you have to die in war or win the war. He is going to be left with this karma that he has, a karma bandhan that he hasn't finished. So on him, it will be a papa to be not activating your vishuddha or the courage to fight the wrong when you see the wrong or experience the wrong. So for that reason, in chapter 18, he goes on to explain sannyasam karmanam Krishna punar yogam cha sanchasi yachrem eto ekam tanme bruhisnishitam. The sannyasa and tyaga, chapter 18, all those 78 verses are discussing difference between sannyasa and tyaga, and why repeatedly Krishna tells him that tyaga is superior to sannyasa. Sannyasa is saying, I don't have any duties. That's why I will not have any karma bandhan, because I will not interact with the indriya, with the indriyartheshu, guna with the guneshu. Then I will not build karma, whether good or bad. because you have to burn both the karmas, papa or punya. Pap tulchaya na ho pradahet pralagnatata papanumukta tasmat punyani nashayet. Hat Yoga says that pap and punya both create karma bandhan, and even Kumbhak will burn the papa first and then it will burn the punya. That's why Kumbhak works for cleansing of the mind, purity of the mind. It kills the papa. Anyways, so the tyaga is what you have to do. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana means do your duty without expectation of reward. That is tyaga. Not doing the duty alone, totally abdicating your duty is sannyasa. Sannyasa will work in Satyuga and Treta. Sannyasa will not work in Kali, because someone has to take up the fight against the adharma, which is totally building in end of Dwapar and more so now in Kali. So if all the good people will go retire in Aranyak, retire in the forest or become sannyasis, then who will fight the war against the evil? And that's why we have the problem of not having the right politicians, or democracies not functioning well, or dictators showing up, because all the good people are sattva, are light balanced personalities. They will not take up weapons or anything. And in Mahabharata also, you have to have some rajasic quality to be fighting the evil. Tamas is very sticky and heavy. So sattva usually will get impaled by tamas, but rajas is required, courage, because rajas is the active, rocky idea that can suddenly transform the inertia of the tamas. So that's why tyaga is needed. Do the action without expecting the reward, and not sannyasa, which is totally abdicating responsibility. And that's why we have to dispense our duties as a grihast, as a whatever roles we take in our life, whether professional or personal. And that way, when we dispense the right, we are working in the realm of dharma or logic. And when you're working in that realm, you are building nishkam karma. And that's why it's the path to the higher levels of intuition or dhyana or eventual moksha.
Love it. Actually, I love the way you actually summarize it, because adharma is a lot of action. Only action can subdicate or remove the evil action and this stuff. So in the Kali Yuga, so from what I understand, which is like in the Kali Yuga, we all have to take to the path of action, so that we all have to take the responsibility of restoring dharma in all the realms, at the home, at the work, but also in the broader community and all this.
Yes, and that is why that the time phase of Kali Yuga is the smallest. In all the four, in Satyug and then Treta, Dwapar and Kali, the duration of Kali Yuga is very small. So everything in Kali will happen very quickly. That is the beauty of Kali. Everything, just like the stock market. End of the bull market, everything is going like rapidly, like parabolic. Everything is going parabolic in life. So even they say that in Kali Yuga, end of Kali Yuga, this is the beginning of Kali Yuga. So we are actually, I mean, I guess we are comparatively okay. But end of Kali, they say in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a lot, you might know, you are a learned man. Srimad Bhagavatam describes all what happens at the end of Kali. When the cows stop giving milk. And that thing where you might have heard the story, I don't want to repeat and take your time, but basically what 5 things the Pandavas saw when they went, when Krishna said, go and see what you see in the forest, and that you'll see is what happens in the end of Kali. And one of the things that Bhim sees is that the calf is being licked by the cow, mother cow, so much that it's bleeding. And it's saying, what is this going on? Then Krishna explains, this is what happens in Kali. In the end of Kali, the parents will shower so much love and affection to the kids that it will become detrimental to the growth of the kid, because they're totally blind in their love. So the kids are now controlling the parents. Whatever they want, they will run back and forth. And that's bad for the kid, because they have a lot of attention, entitlement. They become miserable once they grow old. So this, he has 5 different things that he shows, end of Kali. So end of Kali, everything is accelerated. Our lifespan is shortened. They say the lifespan is only 20 or 30 years. That is crazy. And of course, like adharma increases, and people will not trust each other. And they say that the cows stop giving milk. Everything the earth will be parched, totally parched. This is all in Bhagavatam. Global warming, we don't need to get any experience. This was written like 5,000 years ago, that the earth will be parched and nothing will grow on the land. The sun is so hot in the end of the world. So that is how the world ends, the global warming, and everything is accelerated in end of Kali Yuga. But this is beginning, so I think we can chill for now.
I see. I mean, what a beautiful thing. I did not know about this Bhagavatam thing, but the symptoms, as you said, it's all around of the Dharma. And then one kind of follow on, and then I'll drop. So the verse that says, Abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamiham. So what that is, that means like, do we need to invoke Krishna within us to restore Dharma?
Well, everybody has their own ways, as you know. Satyam ekam vipra bahuda vadanti. There is multiple paths. If you want to invoke the power of Krishna, of course, that works. And that is what Draupadi did eventually when Dushashan was causing trouble. But even if you, different people have different takes on it. Some people will not have, it's kind of counterintuitive to the ego to ask for help. Some people have that agnostic, even atheist tendencies where they feel ashamed or saying like, what are you talking about? I don't need anybody's help. I can do it myself. Prakrite kriyamani gunah karmani sarvasya ahankar gunatma kartaham iti manyate. That ego is impeding us to ask for help. But you have to, I think in that shloka, he's just saying that whenever there's imbalance, abhyudhanam adharmasya, that time I take birth because I have to come in this world. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkatam. So to save the pious and the priestly, who might be more sattvic and sannyasis. So even if there is wrong being done, they cannot fight against the wrong, whatever their beliefs are or their abilities are. So that time I will come as an yuga, I will come in every yuga to bail them out and re-establish the dharma. So we can invoke the Krishna in ourselves whenever we are faced with such situations. I tend to think more of these as qualities that are working on the different chakras. Like most people will live and die 90% in the lower three chakras. The food, water, and shelter for people who cannot make both ends meet of Muladhara. The sensuality, leisure, comfort creatures of the Swadhisthana, or the ambition chakra. Very few will go there when they want to become leaders and want to do entrepreneurial things. But once you transgress all these three and go to the compassion center, where you can feel how other persons are feeling, then you will automatically activate the Vishuddha, the thyroid plexus courage center. So you cannot see wrong happening in front of you. When people say something wrong was happening and they did not act, that is because the heart plexus anhad has not been activated. Once it has been activated, Vishuddha will tell you, for the establishment of dharma, you have to take action. Vishuddha is truth. So you have to take action. Even if you are weak, you will be given the power by the Sukshma bodies around you to take action. So always take action, because once you, even if you perish taking action, trying to save the person who was being subject to a dharma by people around them, that way you are, your last moments of life have been gone for restoring dharma. Just like Arjun was going to restore the dharma. So whenever people, even if something bad happens, they die at that time, they are going to rapidly clear their karma bandhan on the way to moksha. So that is my thought process.
Love it, Tapasya. Thank you so much.
Anybody else would like to go? I'm not sure if all of you are able to see my messages on the side, but we have some more people. Aditya.
Yeah, hi. Hi, this is
Hello?
Sonali. Hi,
Hey,
Sonali.
Sonali.
Hi. So one question, Tapasji. So on one hand, we say that we should do our duty without any expectation. Whatever profession we are in, just keep doing your work without expecting anything. At the same time, there is a thought that if you have some really really deep desire, and at the same time you're also on a spiritual path, it is also said that you need to kind of get over it by experiencing that, so that it is out of your system for good, forever and ever. Because I right, I have read that about Sant Jnaneshwar. His parents were in the, they were parents to small children, and then they left their uh, children and went for sannyas. And then people started mocking these small kids, and then this couple, their parents, they met someone on the way when they were going for sannyas, and they were asked to go back to complete their duties. So on one hand, we want to complete duties, and on other hand, we are also saying that we need to, whatever deep desire we have, that also should be addressed. And I'm currently studying this rudram, and rudram chanting and stuff. So what I have read is that if you chant specific mantras like rudram, which is very powerful, you can get those things that you want. At the same time, it'll get out of your system for good, so that in the following lives you are no longer attracted to them, and then you are on the true path of salvation or self-realization. Am I being clear in my question? I
yes.
hope so.
So this is a very common question. The 4 pillars of life are dharma, arth, kam, moksha. So kam or desire is there, and all the Gita is based on kamesh, krodhesh. Kam and krodha are the 2 biggest enemies. So kama or desire, of course, if it is deep desire, those are the subconscious samskaras, your ingrained proclivities, which will come out in your thought processes or dreams a lot of times. So the question is whether we should exhaust our desires by experiencing them, throwing in the towel, or should we like actively resist it? So the answer there is that both paths work. The same question was asked by to Neem Karoli Baba by his disciples, and he says there's 2 paths to greatness. The path of yoga, Jai Bajrang Bali, if you like, they were asking about lust in that case. But he says, no, you are Bajrangi. So you have to incite the power of Bajrang. Or you can be Bhogi, the power of Janak, because Janak is a very learned emperor, and he has all these Rani, all these queens, and he still has a very pious bent of mind. So either you can be as a yogi, which is the path of Bajrangi or Hanuman, no girlfriends for Hanuman, versus Janak, who has multiple queens and all the Ashwarya, prosperity, Bhog Vilas things. So it can be by experiencing, or it can be by total abdication. Which one should we do? Depends upon exercising your dharma or awareness. First of all, anything you do, the first rule, just like in medicine, do no harm, Hippocrates' rule, is do no harm to any other individual soul. So in the process of meeting your desires, is any other individual suffering because of your actions? If it is not, then to some extent you can protocol it to the next stage. If you have decided that this action of mine is going to cause some sort of pain, suffering, misery, guilt, resentment to that individual towards me, then you are screwed, because then the karma bandhan will make you come back to interact with that individual again in your future life. So for that person, now you are stuck for one life just because of that desire. So first of all, do no harm has to be applicable. So it's a little different when a person is having the desire to eat a cookie versus someone who's a Casanova and tries to have relationship with multiple women. Those two are 2 different problems, because the intention with which you go to fulfill a desire will determine whether it is in the realm of dharma or adharma. So it should not be in the realm of adharma, which is, how do you establish adharma? You try to transmute yourself to the subject. When you are trying to get the desire, you try to feel, how does it feel to that individual with whom I want to have the experience? Will they be grateful for this experience, or will they be resentful if they knew my intentions, what I have? So usually all the desires are in the realm of Muladhara or Swadhisthana. Muladhara being food, water, and Swadhisthana being more in the realm of Indriya Tripti, which can be also things which are comfort creatures or amorous relationships, things of that nature. But those things you have to determine, and slowly it will morph from craving, like food, if you don't eat or miss a meal, you crave. That is Muladhara, earthly component. Versus it becomes a desire, having the desire of lust. A word was created because of the desire for sex. It is so strong on Swadhisthana. Versus once you go on the fire realm, it becomes intention. We don't call it desire anymore. You don't say, I desire to become the Prime Minister of India. You have the ambition. The word changes, intention. So intention is considered higher than desire, and desire is obviously higher than craving. But all of them are operating on the different chakras that we have to conquer on our way to going to the compassion center, which determines whether the desire that you have towards the object that you will be utilizing, whether a cookie or another individual, that thing should not be harmed in the process. So that is why the karma of eating meat is different from karma of eating a fruit versus karma of adultery or something like that. So the desires you have to weigh, whether it's in the realm of dharma, you have to use the compassion, anhat chakra, to establish whether it is dharma or adharma, and then give yourself selective permission, knowing that the desire is not harmful to me or to the individual. It's not going to create patterned, habitual networking in the form of smoking, drinking, gambling, all those things that will become perpetual, and then I cannot break the cycle. Then you can decide to pursue it or not. That is in the ideal aware state that this answer will come. But sometimes you might feel down, dejected, stressed, and you might just go for whatever your guilty pleasure is. But the problem is they are innocuously, slowly entangling you into more karma bandhan and more slavery, because you are dependent on it. So there's a sense of helpless attachment to the object to give us the transient pleasure because of all the stresses we might be having in the first place.
Great. Thank you. You answered my question.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tapas. Who would like to go next? I see.
Somebody can I ask? Shivani here.
This.
In case
Let's give a
someone
chance to other people. Shivani, you've
Yeah,
got
in
direct
case
connection
someone
to
else
Bhaiya,
is-
so let's see if anybody else has questions.
it's okay. Yeah, sure.
All right, thanks. Should I
Hello.
assume nobody else has a question? Aditya, go ahead.
Hello, Maji. Hello, Tapasji.
Hey, Aditya,
Pranam.
how are you, yaar? How are you?
I'm fine, Tapasji. How are you?
Badhiya, yaar.
It's been a long time. I got an opportunity this time to join in. It's really a blessing.
Thank you for joining.
And yeah, thank you so much, Tapasji. And I had just one question. How to clean the Sushumna Nadi? And the second one is that I think sometimes when I do Kumbhak, I feel that I'm progressing, but then the habitual patterns that arise, and I feel that it is again downgrading, and I have to progress. So that situation is still there, and sometimes I feel that the schedule, the routine that I have, I guess that is sometimes affecting. So I had this question of how to clean up the Sushumna so that the chakras get activated.
Okay.
And one more incident that I wanted to ask, that my grandmother is 93 years old, and she recently got a dream, and she didn't know about Gayatri Mantra, but someone came and recited the Gayatri Mantra to her so clearly that she recited to us, and she said that whether she has to recite it um, and do the japa for that.
Okay. Let me answer the second question. It is very interesting that a 93-year-old person is having a dream with someone reciting the Gayatri Mantra. Being a sleep medicine physician, science tells me that REM sleep, which is when you dream, as you grow older, the REM sleep shrinks. So you do not dream as much. Babies will dream. Babies, you'll see, they will laugh sometimes in the dream, and like infants especially, because they are catching the past life samskara. They're still living those. They've changed the body, but the subtle sharir, the sukshma sharir is the same. So they catch, they go and live it, and slowly with the new samskaras, they slowly erase the older ones, and that's why they have night terrors and crazy things. 93-year-old woman, if someone has Gayatri someone coming and reciting, that tells you that there's a divine invocation for her, which is, you are very lucky to be the grandson, that she had a REM sleep dream. And there's only two reasons to have dreams. Either you are trying to exercise your subconscious samskaras, which is what happens with most of us through our teenage years, adulthood, growing old, or there is some divine relaying of information. A lot of people, like Papaji has talked about it. When he goes to see Ramana Maharishi, he has a dream. A lot of people will have dreams. I myself had a dream about in medical college about a friend who died the same night. So a lot of times you will have dreams as subtle channels of relaying for the sukshma sharir, subtle bodies which are not in the body. In this case, it could be a divine spiritual being trying to give her, could be her mantra, so that she can chant. So she should definitely chant, and you should probably chant with her in whatever way it was communicated to her in the dream, because that is going to clear her remaining karma bandhan rapidly. I told you there's only 3 karma bandhans that are not burned. Everything else can be burned by kumbhak actually. So that comes to the second answer to your question, how to clean the nadis. The easiest way to clean the Sushumna Nadi is obviously Kumbhak. That's why we say Pran evam param mitram, pran evam param sakha, pran tulya paro bandhu nasti nasti varanane. Prana is your, when Parvati asks Shiva, who's the best friend for an individual human? He says, pran evam param mitram, pran evam param sakha. Pran is your best boyfriend, pran is your best girlfriend. Because like prana, there is nothing. The prana is the power of the manifest residing in this unmanifest chitta that we call Atman. So you and I are unmanifest Atman who have come to enjoy because of our innate need for desires and experiences that we took these bodies the first time. The second time we came because of karma bandhan. So we are stuck here in this cycle. So to clear the Sushumna Nadi, you can do any of the Panch Pratyaharas, which is basically cleansing, Bhuta Shuddhi, Nadi Shodhan, different terms people use. But basically the idea is that you are cleaning the Mahabhut, which is constituting the Sthul Sharir or the gross body. Thereafter, you start getting control over the Sukshma Sharir, the activities of the mind, the senses, and the ego. And once those three are dissolved, then the intellect can work in the realm of dharma, and it's only a matter of time. Rapidly your karma bandha is being cancelled till you go into moksha, nirvana, samadhi states. So you can do any of the Panch Pratyaharas. If you have, as I was saying earlier to Miss B, that you should not feel dejected or depressed, even if you don't do certain activities, because the most important thing to develop is sankalp. Once your sankalp, I will do it, I can do it, and I will constantly work, failures are stepping stones, all these strong affirmations you have to say again and again. You have to believe in those affirmations, and you have to visualize those affirmations. As Dandapani, if you watch his ABV theory, affirmation, belief, visualization, first throw out a sankalp in the samsara, in the universe, then slowly believe in the sankalp, which is what is faith, and then you visualize it in your dhyana when you do kumbhak. So see yourself as successful, see yourself as a very pious individual, as a sadhu, or you see yourself as a person who gets what he wants, whether it's material success or spiritual success. You have to visualize yourself, because you're in the world of manifestation, samsara. So that's why you have to visualize, because visualization leads to manifestation. So you can do any of the things. Obviously kumbhak works. You can do it to your capacity. As I said, if you're not able to do kumbhak, if you feel totally bored, depressed, stressed out, start with intermittent fasting. Just skip a meal. Choose a day, choose a Saturday, Tuesday, choose a day of Ekadashi, and just fast away. 12 hours you can do, great. Can you do 24? Go for it. Just have Ekadashi fasting rules, no grains, just do vegetable smoothies, whatever you want to drink if you have to. Otherwise, you can do a dry fast or a wet fast. Anyways, so fasting is a great place to start, but kumbhak, slowly you have to build back. And listening to music, some people like, so just listen to music. Start somewhere. That's the whole point. Just start somewhere and slowly the Panch Pratyahar will start happening with you, talking with like-minded people, doing pravachan, satsangs, reading the books. Read the Gospel of Ramakrishna is a great book to read. Yogananda's book was great, Autobiography of a Yogi. Aghora, Left Hand of Aghora by Robert Sabhuda, I'm reading right now. Those are nice. So, but don't be hard on yourself. I have realized myself, I have failed a lot of times in doing stuff. Once you start forgiving yourself for not being able to pursue something strongly and still having the intention and belief that you are on the right path and you are not losing by not participating in all the things that people are doing, which is wasting their time most of the time. So you have to utilize your time. Be very cognizant of your time value, because time value is the only thing that is decaying every day. Every day you have one less day to reach God, find God, have belief in God, or create Mameva Smarana Yuddhacha, creating the final impression of God when you are fighting the wars in this world. So he asks you to do multitask. He asks you to constantly think about himself and constantly fight the war. So dispense your duties, the dharmas, whether in the realm of your family, personal, professional, community, society, nation, whatever is the dharma you recognize your identity to be, work for that, because all those three paths, whether Dhyan Yoga, Nishkam Karm Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, will cleanse the Nadi system, Sushumna, and that is why we have an erect spine. So the elevation of the consciousness can happen.
Yes, thank you so much, Tapashi. And I do fasting on Sundays. I sometimes eat fruits while doing fasting.
Fasting is a very good thing to, in general, anti-aging is, you'll see lots of yogis, they will live like who knows how many years. There's another Babaji by the name of Yogananda, I think. He was very famous on YouTube. And he's such a lean guy. He has never eaten anything cooked. He just eats raw fruits and vegetables. We cannot do that much, obviously. We have to eat samosas and whatnot. But I'm just saying that fasting one day is a great way to recharge your system, because you want to give even the digestive system a break. You cannot make it work every single day, you know. So that's a great way to, like Socrates says, I fast for more mental and mental clarity. Hippocrates would have his disciples fast before they would come to a class, because then they will grasp, learn quicker. If you are full stomach, then you're sleepy and you cannot do a lot in life. So you have to have the hunger if you want to attain something in life. So fasting once.
There's 4 days, right? 2 Ekadashis, Paurnami and Amavasya. I keep pinging all of you guys. I don't see any participants.
Yeah, I mean, slowly people develop. It's very hard to fast. It's not easy if you have been.
Right. But I'm not saying 24 hours, Tapas ji, you know, 6 ghante karo, 8 ghante karo, you know,
Yeah.
right? Anyways, I'll post in the channel to see if anybody's interested in maybe 21-day yoga and meditation thing.
Thanks for all your help, Aditya. You were very helpful with all the animations. People love it. So thanks for all your help.
Actually, thank you so much, Tapashi. It's really a blessing to get an opportunity to create.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
cool animation, Aditya. So I think there's a couple more people that didn't ask any questions. It's not like you have to. Ramakant ji or Sandy ji, either of you have any questions? Both of them are on mute, so maybe they're just
Yeah,
listening.
we are enjoying the prasada. So
That's good.
Yeah, nothing for
Sandy
today.
ji?
Nothing for today.
Okay, nothing. Okay. Well, Tapas ji, we can circle back to Shivani, or we can handle a couple of the common questions. It's up to you.
I think we'll go back to Shivani.
Okay, ठीक है. Shivani, it's your turn.
भैया आपने कंपनी का भी बात किया था कि the kind of company you are keeping.
Yes.
Now, at times, it's not really in your control, especially, let's say, your family members or the office colleagues you are working with. So, you know, you are trying to stay balanced, but then you have people around you who would put you off the balance all the time. And I'm seeing this example with many of my close friends and even with some of my family members. in other families, not like immediate family. But yeah, I'm observing that they really find it hard. They're trying to stay on the track, but they are being put off by, not so good company, I would say. So how can one, still stay at balance? What kind of practices would be helpful?
Well, some of the
Uh,
company you
if-
cannot avoid. If you are working in an office, then the colleagues have to interact with you and give their 2 cents about everything. So I guess some of it you have to be passive aggressive. I think we have talked about it. Like you, एक कान से सुना दूसरे कान से निकाल दिया, because you cannot expect everybody to be at the same spiritual level. Some people are more advanced, some people are peers, and some people haven't discovered that. They're just coming out from the Pashu yonis. Their first time, imagine becoming first time individual. There's so many desires you can fulfill in a human life. But if you have become a human 100 times, then slowly it's like, okay, whatever, So you cannot, I think it is wrong on our part to expect everybody कि तुम क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो, मैंने जो कर रहा हूँ मुझसे भी अच्छा करो. But we have to at least find, for our own good sake, individuals who are like-minded. Yadacharati shreshtasya devetaro jana sat pramanam kurute lokastanu vartate. As the great people will do, so the followers will do. So you have to find the right inspiration. You have to just find. That's why you'll see. I have said many times, I don't have a living guru. I have some people I believe in immensely. Neem Karoli Baba is one of them. Yogananda is one of them. Ramana is Anandmay is one of them. So because I can just relate and I get inspired by listening to their stuff that is there, or music and stuff like that. And they are, for all intents and purposes, guru. So you don't have to have a living guru. We had a long discussion about it. Some people did not agree with. And it's fine, whatever works for whoever. But it is very important to not get influenced unduly by people who can bring you down, because then your bad company will start vaporizing your satsang and all the sadhanas that you're doing. Because it's I told you, it's a sattvic. All the yoga is sattvic. Tantra is tamasic. If you want to make rapid advancements, good luck with tantra, because tantra can take you fast up and fast down, very hard to understand, which is the path of Vimalananda. But most of the Vimalananda could drink whiskey and still he is a yogi. He's a tantric yogi, but he's totally clean. So for most of us, whether Vivekananda eating meat or Nisarga Datta smoking cigarettes or Vimalananda drinking alcohol, the vices won't affect them because they are beyond a point. They have hit the escape velocity. For us, we will get totally caught up in these subjective pleasures, and dopamine will start affecting our brains. The neural networks will get totally craving, addicting, and then you cannot create awareness. Pleasure and peace cannot coexist. Either you can have pleasure or peace. Pick your poison, whatever you want to pick. Pleasure being the poison there. So colleagues you interact, you talk to them a little bit, be passive aggressive. If you feel they are saying things which you don't agree with, you don't have to pick a battle, because what's the point? You have to, the goal is to find like-minded people, or people who have no mind, who have no thoughts, because they won't speak a lot. So that is one way to know whether you're in right company. People in general, the people who are yogis and established ones, they don't have a lot to say. Like Ramana, it was very hard to get any answers out of him. He would not talk a lot. So that's one of the signs. As the ego dissolves, the vak, sharir, vak, mano, bhir, yat karm prarabdhe nara. You can do karma through all the three planes: sharir, body; vak, words; and man, thoughts. The person who has dissolved the ego has totally destroyed the karma that you do on the mental plane and vocal plane. Sharir also, he is living, but he's not going to do much. So that is the approach we should have. Like-minded people. As I was tweeting today, a thought came to me. If a dog is sitting outside the temple and every day he's listening to the sermon of the guru, he will never get enlightened. The dog is 2 standard deviations away from the followers in terms of what his needs are, his desires are, his basic day-to-day activities are. So just being in contact also with a highly realized individual, you might not realize that that person is realized or he has so many qualities. Some people will when they have certain traits. So that's why it's very important for us, because we are in the development, just like a kid, we are in the nurtured state, the stage where we can grow a lot, immense potentiality, or we can just waste this life again and wait for the next term to be a human. So important not to waste it by not being in people who are 2 standard deviations away from us. Try to find people who are within 2 standard deviations of our behavior. That's why people who are totally atheists or don't believe in God and have that philosophy where the purpose of life is sex and die, desire fulfillment, those people will also perish. And the people who are totally like saint, ascetic, who don't say a word to you, you're like, what is this person? He's of no use to me because I cannot gain anything from him. He's too high. One person is too low, the other person is too high. Neither of them can help you. So very important to be in your lane and try to be just like in tennis. There's a rule: you never play with the player who plays worse than you, because then you lose your skills. Either play with the person who has the same level, 2.0, 3.0. If I'm 3, I usually play with 3.0s. I don't play with 2s, because then I will lose my skills. I will start playing stupid tennis. So better not to be in company of people who can bring you down, or because they are set in their goals, but हम तो डूबेंगे सनम तुमको भी ले डूबेंगे. That is the kind of goals going on there. So very important to keep in mind the company we keep, because that is going to determine which way we are going. Prakriti operates through gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. That's why whatever you come in contact with is going to determine your thought process. Dhyayato vishyan punsa sangeshte shubjayate. When you are constantly ruminating and thinking about something, it will get to you. It will get to you. You will have to have it. So dhyana, that's why Kumbhak controls the dhyana or the thought process. You don't breathe, there's nothing to think. Kumbhak is so powerful. But yeah, I kind of digress from your question. Basically, try to avoid undue contact with individuals who do not share similar spiritual views with you, and definitely don't argue with them, because you have to show them the right path by doing it and not arguing. When you argue, the ego is activated and they will take a firmer position. If they are wrong, they will try to substantiate and defend the wrong. So very important not to argue with people. It's being said in Gita clearly. Just by doing the right thing, na buddhir bhedam janyat jnanam karm sanginam. Don't try to intellectually argue with individuals about activities you don't agree with, because then they will get further agitated and start trying to do you wrong. So yeah, just try to be in right company, do all the 3 yoga, panch pratyahara we talked about, like-minded individuals, have friendship with and talk every day. That kind of thing. If you're not doing wrong, by default you will do right. All you need to do is not have wrong things being done. Even if you're fulfilling your desires, just not harm another individual. Then there's not much wrong you can do. That is the beauty. Just by not doing wrong, you will be in the right track. That is the place to start.
Right. And just another one quick question. That's one problem which I'm observing with myself is I would tend to say something during not necessarily spiritual discussion. I'm saying just any situation in office or at home. I would say something in the heat of the moment, let's say. And though I'll very quickly realize it, but the damage has been done. Like I have said it. At the end of the conversation, I'm realizing, and I would then apologize. It's fine, but it just puts blockage in mind, why it is happening every time. I would say something and then realize later on and then apologize. I'm doing the same circle every time. What's the point? So not improving, that's the thing.
Solution is, we have in Shastra it is said everybody when they are born, their number of breaths is decided. A dog is panting so like frequently and breathing so fast, that's why its life is short. Everybody has been decided their duration of life by the number of breaths. So when you're angry, they say you burn a lot of years, you burn a lot of your life. Anger, greed, anything that is kamesh, krodesh, those things will burn your that's why you start hyperventilating. You will hear in panic also people hyperventilate, and when people are extremely angered, they also hyperventilate. rapid breathing, very shallow rapid breathing. So that is the reason you should not have anger. So what should you do? Whenever you know you are going to be triggered in that situation, start doing kumbhak. Even you are sitting on your chair, looking at the keyboard, take a deep breath, hold it for 5 seconds. No need to talk to anybody. How will you talk when you're holding your breath? So you have to keep doing kumbhak all day, every day, so that slowly your neuronal networks are primed to breathe slow. A yogi will breathe slow. Biofeedback experiments have shown Yogananda was able to stop his heart rate. How can a person stop his heart rate? Intrinsic pacemaker is in the heart, autonomic nervous system innervation. You cannot, it's not like a muscle you flex. But no, because breathing is semi-autonomous, once you control breathing, the autonomic centers are also controlled. The centers of rage and sex are located in hypothalamus, the hippocampus, which is the part of the primitive brain, animal instincts, right? Reptilian animal instincts, hippocampus, thirst, hunger, urge of sex and rage, all these are located in the hippocampal center of hypothalamus, which is part of the primitive brain. Evolution wise, primitive brains have come from reptiles who have become mammals, who have become primates, evolution wise. And that's why we say don't eat beef or something which is close to your evolution. Anyways, so that being the reason, once you attack the breathing center, medulla oblongata, which is the breathing center of the human brain, then you will slow your breathing semi-consciously, unconsciously. You stop breathing slowly. Your life is prolonged, anti-aging is more, but at the same time, all the primitive emotions, which are primitive biological urges, including urge of sex and rage, which seem involuntarily primitive in an animal. If you provoke an animal, that's why the animal will provoke you back, because there's a reflex, reactionary things going on. There is no conscious response. Those will be totally destroyed in you. And that is what consciousness is. Consciousness is total subjugation over the primitive brain by the forebrain or the neocortex. That's why the neocortex or the forebrain is so developed in humans. And Homo sapiens, sapiens word itself means wisdom, intellect. Intellect is something which is inherent to human beings. You cannot expect, like I was saying, a dog who listens to the guru's chanting all day outside the temple, he will not learn anything because he doesn't have intellect. So even if the guna contact is there, he doesn't have the intellect to understand, absorb, and apply that information. That's why you need a human body for that, basic prerequisite. So in short, when you get upset at other individuals, you know you're going to get upset again at other individuals. You know you're going to eat that third cookie when you should not. You know you have certain biological rhythmic urges that come in your body. Start doing kumbhak. Before that, you know, the problem comes, you start doing kumbhak all day, every day. Slow your breathing, hold your breath, 1:4:2:2 ratio. Slowly, it's all about practice, but never give up, never get upset. I was doing 2 hours, now why I'm doing only 10 minutes. Never be hard on yourself. You are sons and daughters of Shiva. So Shiva is supreme consciousness. We have fragmental consciousness, doesn't get anger. Angry is a power of Shakti. It's not a power of Shiva. When he takes it, that's a different story, but that's not inherent quality. So anger and desire, both are some things which have imparted because of the attribute of experience or enjoyment, not because of the witnesser trait, which is what Supreme Shiva determines. So witnesser never gets angry. The experiencer gets angry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tapas.
I ranted a lot. It's already.
No, everything was perfect. And we have 4 more minutes, and I think we should not do the questions from the group. We can handle that differently if you like.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And I'll try to do one more. So watch out on the YouTube channel before I have few days off. So I will do one more of these sessions. Please feel free to join us back. The details will be posted on the YouTube community tab. But yeah, I'm so glad everybody was able to join, and I think we're on the right path. Please do not compare your spiritual progress with anybody else. Everybody has a different lifestyle and, you know, pace at which we grow, and there are ups and downs just like anything. So just be patient with yourself and continue doing those. Chant mindlessly, breathe slowly, do all the panch pratyaharas, 3 yoga, and success happens. Just be patient with yourself.